Thanks to those of you who have checked out my Patreon, I am able to make a new series of Pokemon Epics, and a big shout out, of course, to the Nerd Therapist and Wilgrim. Hello Pokemon Masters, my name is Birdkeeper Toby, and thank you for clicking on this video. Pokemon cards, historically, not the biggest, most successful topic on this channel, but does it matter? Not really, because I love Pokemon cards. If you're watching this, I'm going to take a pretty educated guess that you have Pokemon cards somewhere in your house. Maybe you are a regular collector, you are up to date on all of the latest sets, maybe you play competitively, I want to do a video about that soon as well. Or maybe your collection looks like this and you wouldn't even consider yourself a collector. I mean, it's all just kind of higgledy-piggledy and mixed up, and some of the cards are quite old, and maybe you've got some shinies in there. Maybe if this is your collection and it's sitting under your bed or on your shelf, you don't consider yourself a collector. But here's the thing, you kind of are. You have a literal collection of Pokemon cards, the perfect starting point for you to become a collector. Someone who's going to make a bit of an effort in their life to build that collection, whether it's immediately by spending loads of money or slowly over a long period of time. I would consider myself one of those collectors. One of those people that I've always had Pokemon cards, and there are definitely certain cards I want, but my intention is to complete this collection over a lifetime. So I wanted to make this video as a very entry level, how to start collecting Pokemon cards. My top 10 tips on how to start collecting. And while this is aimed at those of you who might not have a very in-depth collection of Pokemon cards already, this might have some stuff that applies to those of you who have been collecting for a while. And if you have your own tips, again, leave them in the comments. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with number one. It seems really obvious, but you actually kind of have to think about this. Number one. What are you trying to collect? Do you know what it is that when you are at a convention, or when you're at a Pokemon card tournament, or something like that, do you know what cards you're trying to collect? And do you know why it is you want those cards? Do you even know all of the Pokemon cards? I mean, there's so many, how could you know? Thing is, there are websites like Cerebi.net that have a whole index of cards. There's this app called Poke Collector, which, breaks it down by set. I can go all the way back to the old Pokemon cards. I can look at the Team Rocket set, and I can view them by picture. I can go through a set at a time. It actually only really takes an hour to get through the whole thing. And I can go, okay, which ones do I own? And which ones do I care about owning? See, me personally, I'm not trying to complete every set to 100% completion. You might want to. So again, know what it is that you're trying to collect. For me, I really love shining Pokemon. So Hidden Fates has been a pretty big thing for me lately. I love the old shining Pokemon, and I am definitely trying to complete that collection. And that's useful to know, because if I know what I want, then I can broadcast that to my friends and other people trading and collecting, and they can know what I'm after. I think if you know what you're looking for, and you know the image of the card you're looking for when you go into someone's binder, you're not going to miss anything that you don't know, and also you're going to really be able to prioritize which cards in that binder when you're trying to do your trades, which ones are the most important. Number two, kind of bleeding into that, do you care about the quality at all? I feel like a lot of people think about Pokemon card collectors and they think of this, a ton of PSA graded cards looking immaculate, sitting there, never being played with. Here's the thing though, recently I traded for this Rocket Suicune. It's actually a pretty rare card, but it is in terrible condition. I don't care. The edges are all horribly frayed and the picture is chipped, but there's a little cool story about me getting this Suicune. But because of the story relating to the Suicune, and the fact that I am not a perfectionist, I care more about getting Rocket's Suicune, Rocket's Entei, and Rocket's Raikou, much more than I do about getting a mint version of each of them. That kind of thing, again, it's just good to know. What might be trash to someone else might be your treasure, and if you are looking for perfect condition stuff, know that you might have to end up paying a little bit more. Number three, relating back to point number one, what are your friends looking for? This whole Pokemon collecting thing is not something you have to or should even want to do alone. Nor is it a competition. Your friends, like mine, are building up their own collection, and unless you're trying to get the exact same card, which, that happens from time to time, you should be, when you're out looking at other people's trade binders, looking for your friends for cards that they need, and they will do the exact same for you. If you have a kind of network of people, and I have friends that I message on Facebook whenever I see stuff they'll be interested in, I know that they're going to draw my attention to stuff that I will be interested in. Building up your card collection is a collaborative feat. I mean, it's a trading card game, so you absolutely need other people, but it also helps to have other friends. If you know their collection and they know someone else's collection, and that person knows what you're after, then they can mediate a good trade. Number four, Facebook is your friend. And, there's other things as well. There's Discord servers, there's Twitter DMs. Is there Google Plus group? Is that a thing still? No, probably not. Or whatever it is you use. There are so many Facebook groups for card collecting and trading in the UK or in the US or in your specific state. Heck though, more than that, certainly here in the UK, we have this thing called Spotted In. It's kind of a Facebook trend. So if you live in London, there might be Spotted in London, or if you live in Greenwich specifically, Spotted in Greenwich. These groups are so useful for posting in and saying, hi, I live locally, is anyone up for selling their old Pokemon cards? So many people have old collections sitting around that maybe they don't know or even care about the value of specifically, and they'd rather just get kind of $10, $20 in cash. For this binder specifically, there were some holos in here. I paid £15 and I think that was about worth it. I didn't get any Mega Pulls in here, but you never know. And so communicate with people on Discord, on Facebook, and try and communicate with people not just who are other Pokemon fans, although you can very much use those Pokemon fan groups. It's kind of like the GTS of trading, but for Pokemon cards. But also use social media to source your local areas where you live. Number 5, get creative with negotiating. One of the key rules of life that I found is negotiation begins when you say it does. When you sit down at the table with someone to trade Pokemon cards, maybe you're at an event or something, very often the first thing you'll think is, what do I have in my binder? What do they have in their binder? And maybe you see something you want, but you don't have anything the other person wants. That's okay. Again, get creative. If you know something their friend wants, suggest that they can trade with you the card that their friend wants so that they can trade it with someone else. Very often money is obviously something that comes up. Oh, hey, okay, well, in that case, I'll trade you these few cards that you kind of want and money. In particular, I had a situation where someone on eBay had loads of Pokemon cards listed and I wanted a whole bunch of them and I had one card that was quite valuable. I wouldn't have traded my one card for any of them individual, but it was clear to me that the other person was just out to get money. So my offer was, okay, I'll help you cut down on your time selling all these individual items and doing postage if I can offer you my one valuable card for a whole collection of your cards. Then you'll only have to sell one item. It makes your life a lot easier, and then I get a whole bunch of cards I want. Another one is I realized after opening all these packs of Hidden Fates that I pretty much have a complete set of like all of the cards up until the shiny vault. So just basically all the cards of the set. So I've suddenly gone from having a collection of maybe 80 common rubbish cards to a full collection of rubbish cards. And some people do collect those full collections. So if I just get a little bit creative, try and think outside the box when you're trading. I mean, if ultimately everyone trading is a Pokemon fan, there are plushes, there are games, I would advise you from being really careful before you trade away like games and stuff. But you know, to each their own. I mean, a common one that I will offer like viewers and stuff if I'm at an event, if I see any of you at events, which by the way, if you ever come to any event I'm at, please bring your Pokemon cards, I'll bring mine, let's trade. Very common thing I'll do is I'll say, hey, I'll offer you cards and an evolution tree poster and a pin because I just have access to a few more different things that I could trade. Or I'll just trade you this card and a Pokemon on Pokemon Go or something like that. 6, going to local Pokemon tournaments. There is a whole list on the Pokemon website of where you can put in your postcode and you can see all of your local tournaments. Now, understand at these events, people might be looking for something a little bit different to what you're bringing to the table. For example, like I mentioned earlier, I'm really after Rocket's Raikou, Suicune, and Entei. These are old chase cards from the Team Rocket Return set from Generation 3. These are not cards that people tend to relatively kind of have on hand sitting in their binders. Sometimes they do. No, the cards competitive players are looking for are Cherish Ball, which is like a trainer that's really good competitively, or the Jirachi from Tag Team or Team Up. The point is, these cards, while they might not be valuable to you as a collector, are more valuable right now because they're important in the competitive scene. If you have a number of these cards, and you can just look up as well on the Pokemon website, it's actually really useful, like all the World Championship decks, you can look up, do you have any of these cards? Which ones would you want to take to a local tournament, and which ones are you going to offer to trade with people? And heck, maybe you meet people at those events who say they've got more cards like collectibles at home, and you can just kind of arrange for at the next event, they bring their collectibles and you trade them your tournament stuff. That is, unless you're looking to get into competitive. Number 7, this one's really important, come to Birdkeeper Toby events. Comic-Con, Summer in the City. Sometimes I go abroad. If I'm ever abroad, I definitely broadcast it. In fact, there's a whole Discord chat called Meet Me IRL where I keep people up to date at what events I'm at. SunnyCon was one earlier this year. There's MegaPinkyena. If you are in the UK or if I am abroad and I broadcast that I'm going to an event, always, if you can manage it, bring your Pokemon cards. I'm going to be ready to trade, but if you all bring your binders and whatnot, then you can trade with each other. So yeah, that number 8 is definitely only relevant to people who are going to come meet me at events. Sorry, but that is a thing. Number 8, this one is so important. Do not rip off anyone intentionally. Like I said earlier, I went through this book before I made an offer to the guy, and £15 was pretty reasonable for what was in here. I don't actually think I got a really good deal. If anything, I gave him a bit more than it was worth. A friend of mine showed me their collection, and they had in it a Crystal Nidoking, and any of you who know, this card can go from anywhere between like £100 to £300. Now, that person in particular is a friend, so I value that friendship, but even if they weren't a friend, I kind of think it's important that if you know that something in a collection is worth a lot of money, especially if it's in really good condition like this Nidoking was, to say, look, you've got a card there that's quite valuable, and tell them the value. Tell them that it's worth something. And I know you're thinking that's really counterintuitive, but the thing is, if someone finds out that you like to rip people off, they are not going to want to trade with you anymore, and you're going to have some very angry people kind of sitting in the wings ready to get their own back at you someday. If you know something is worth something, it's always worth saying. In fact, I had an event where a viewer came up to me and we arranged a trade, and what they wanted was, I think it was £20? Yeah, £20 for this card, and I looked up this card on eBay right before, and it sort of said 45, and I went, oh, but yeah, £20 is a good deal. I did the trade. I felt awful. I ran after the person and said, look, I think your card's worth a little bit more. And they said, oh, mate, do you know what? Give me an extra £5, we'll call it quits. I would much rather pay that extra £5 and feel not totally terrible about myself than have that person, one of you, go away and go, oh wow, that Birdkeeper Toby, he's a right scam artist. So on the flip side of that, if you are a person trading away your cards, obviously make sure you know the value of what you've got, but also don't rip other people off intentionally. If, you know, just don't. Trust me, you'll feel a lot better about yourself. Number 9, kind of tying into that, don't give away, do not trade something, do not feel pressured to trade something unless you are absolutely certain about trading it away. Obviously, if you've got something like a Shining card or a Gold Star card or a Crystal card, do not trade it away unless you are absolutely sure. Because with a lot of those older cards, they're only going to come around once or twice or 3 times. You know, I guess that just sort of depends how lucky you are. You have to be certain. There's nothing worse, I think, than the feeling of trading something away and then regretting it, whether it's immediately or a year later. You gotta be super, super sure. I had an example where I was trading with my friend Sophie, and Sophie had this silver Dialga card, and I wanted the silver Dialga. And what Sophie wanted was this Raichu from E-Series, this gorgeous holo, and I loved that card, and I had just got the card that day. I wanted both the Raichu and the Dialga, but Sophie just wanted the Raichu. If I was not absolutely 100% confident that I'm never gonna see another Raichu like this again, that I'm going to get the chance to trade it, which I think I probably will, and the fact that, you know what, she really wanted that card, I still got something I really wanted out of it, I don't feel bad about letting that Raichu card go. I'll see a copy of it again somewhere down the line. But I know in my collection there are cards that are just non-negotiable. I will not trade them because I love them too much, maybe due to sentimental value, or maybe just due to how long it took me to find that card. And number 10, and this is the most important, of course, have fun. You're probably in it for the long haul. Unless you have a ton of money and are ready to go on eBay and drop thousands at a time to get, you know, PSA graded 10, all of the best Shining cards right away, and you've got to fill up all of your collections. Unless you are ready to do that, which, by the way, does not sound as fun as going to events and meeting people and trading. But unless you are prepared for that, collecting Pokemon cards, it's going to be a long thing. It begins today and ends probably never. I mean, actually, probably Pokemon will still be alive and releasing Pokemon cards right up until the day we all die. So good work, Pokemon. You're gonna outlive me. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Oh man. Ugh. Anyway, facing my mortality aside, this is going to be a long game. For example, at the moment I'm trying to collect all of the old Shining Pokemon. I have 4 left to go, and it would be very easy to jump onto eBay right now and maybe just buy 1 or 2 of them. In my opinion, the fun of collecting Pokemon cards is knowing that there's an individual story behind each of these Shining Pokemon. And knowing that when this collection is complete, I'm going to be able to tell you all of these stories here on YouTube. That is the fun of collecting. So those are just my 10 tips, but I would love to hear yours, of course, in the comments. I'm going to keep doing videos about Pokemon cards from time to time. Please don't be surprised if that happens. And there's something odd about it because, you know, we all collect Pokemon cards. We all love them. We all you'll have them. I'd love for you to tweet me pictures of your rarest cards at BurkyPatobi. Send me pictures. I'm into this stuff. I love it. But I find it interesting that these videos get less views in general because you know what? I love Pokemon cards, and Pokemon cards recently have been reinvigorating my love of Pokemon. It's just another avenue of the franchise that's been getting me excited. So you know what? I'm probably going to keep making some videos on this. Anyway, that is all for now. Do let me know your thoughts and opinions on collecting cards in the comments below, and of course, so hi Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.